to the High Concept podcast on Black Hole Media with your host, Tony Black.
Yes, hello everybody, and welcome to the very first episode of High Concept. This is a brand new podcast from me. As the wonderful introduction jingle you heard says, I am Tony Black, and I've got with me two fantastic guests, two gentlemen who have podcasted with me many times before, and I'm delighted to join me again. So firstly, all the way from rainy Milton Keynes, it's Andrew Brooker.
Hello, mate.
And to right on the map, I think, is Mr. Dan Taylor, full of sunny sunshine.
Good evening. Yeah, it's glorious.
Yeah, it's all right for some. I am in the Midlands, where it's all muggy and horrible. This is basically, we're recording this in the closest we get to a heat wave in the UK. But this isn't the weather podcast. Oh no, this is High Concept, which is basically, to give you a little bit of a brief history. This is a combination of my two previous podcasts on Black Hole Media, which you can find on Twitter at Black Hole Media or on Facebook. And it's my podcast network, which has several podcasts you both have appeared on to do with film and sometimes TV and things like that. Pick a Flick, which aired last October, and he's finishing up its run of episodes, and Black Hole Cinema, which was my first ever podcast. It was the start of 2014 when I began Black Hole Cinema, and the year after, Dan, you joined me as a co-host, and you hosted quite a lot of the episodes in 2015 before we went on a bit of a hiatus. And then, Brooker, you started podcasting on Pick a Flick and the Xcast, which is the other Black Hole Media podcast, after that. So I thought, what better way to start High Concept, which is going to fuse those two podcasts together effectively and create something new out of it, than get you both on. And Pick a Flick was, if you haven't listened to it, and I'm assuming some of you are going to be new listeners, I hope you are, and I hope we haven't already turned you off in the first 2 minutes, but that was very much about films that have been nominated by people. So people could come in, suggest a flick on Twitter or Facebook, and we'd have to talk about it. Black Hole Cinema was all about new film releases and talking about the box office, things that were coming out, bit of news, everything like that. So what High Concept is going to be is both of them. So we're going to talk about news of TV, films, everything like that, possibly other forms of entertainment. We're going to review new movies, two or three new movies a week, and we're going to talk about TV, some of the new hottest TV on the block, and then we're going to do some special features, one of which will include the Pick a Flick segment sometimes, but we've got a few interesting segments to come, actually, that are a bit different, and we'll get to those over the coming weeks. So we won't blow all our surprises in one. The final one, however, that we will do, the final segment, is the High Concept section. Now, this is the most fun one, I think, to come. And I know you two are both very excited about this.
Excited's one word.
Yeah, maybe I'm over-egging it slightly. But given the name High Concept was something I created based on the idea of a high concept, which is a movie term for a movie idea which is just completely out there and usually blending two big ideas. So it's something proper blockbustery. So say the example I came up with on the Black Hole Media blog was The Bourne Identity meets The Golden Girls, which I'd like to see. I don't know about you two.
Sounds terrifying.
Yeah, something like that. So the High Concept idea is to take some really mad ideas, put them together and come up with an idea for a high concept movie that you can sell in one line, although we will go into a little bit more detail with it. And each week, the High Concept is going to be based on movies or TV or whatever that we're looking at in whichever week we're in. So this week, and we will get to the High Concept at the very end, but this week, our High Concept is this. A cop buddy movie not set in the present day. So what I would ask you guys to do, wherever you're listening, is to keep that in mind, because at the very end of the podcast, we're going to come back and revisit that. And I know Brooker and Dan have got two fantastic ideas for this that we're going to duke out, and I'm going to decide which one is the winning High Concept of the week. So it's exciting, gents. Again, I'll use that word.
You're bigging this up a lot.
I am bigging this up. It's probably not a good idea. So now I've basically done a little primer and bored you to death introducing High Concept. Let's bloody well get on with talking some TV and films. The news. Dan, what's happening in the world of TV or movies?
Well, I kind of want to look at movies, and there's been a few articles. I'm not really picking on one in particular, but it's been written about quite a fair bit at the moment about the involvement, or shall we say, over-involvement of studios in, obviously, the making of films and their effects on creative decisions, and all the recuts and creative changes that they've made midway through filming, etc. And it's increased exponentially, I think, in the last couple of years. Obviously, the most high-profile one last year was the Josh Trank Fantastic Four debacle. And this year it seems like they also seem to be panicking about these remakes or reboots, and obviously sequels as well, that they seem to be penciling in years in advance. And then where we head up to the release date, it gets pushed back for whatever reason. It seems to be coming out more and more. It's because the studios are getting cold feet and are making decisions and changes over the heads of the directors and the writers, etc., that they put in place in the first place. And most recently, obviously, Elizabeth Banks has stepped down from directing Pitch Perfect 3 because Universal basically panicked about how poorly their sequels, and not only theirs, but other sequels as well, such as Alice in Wonderland sequel that came out at the end of last month, I think it was, Alice Through the Looking Glass. They obviously had Bad Neighbours 2 as well. All those films aren't basically performing to how the studios had forecasted them to, and quite often they're not making anywhere near the money that the first films have made. And I don't know what you gents think, but I kind of feel like the studios are not trusting the people that they're putting in charge in the first place.
It is a bit odd. I mean, the Elizabeth Banks one is strange because she did a really good job with Pitch Perfect 2. I know it's got its detractors and everything, but I really like those films. And I think it was a decent sequel. It was predictable. It did what it said on the tin, but did it well. So it's weird to think that they wouldn't go with her for number 3. But I think the overall problem is that people... Part of the problem, I think, is that people don't want just sequels anymore. They want franchises. They want a continuing 10-film saga now. And I think it's becoming more of an issue in that they don't want to throw a ton of money at one film. It's a bit like the whole thing with the mid-range thriller, budget idea, which is this thing that nobody gets 40 million to do a film anymore. Nobody gets 50 million to do a film anymore because they won't make enough money to make it worth it. And it's the same kind of thing in that if they make one sequel, like Alice Through the Looking Glass, and it doesn't work, then they've lost a ton of money that they could have put into maybe one or two different franchise projects that will get people in as part of a bigger whole. I don't know. Brooker, what do you think?
I think a big problem is more, studios walk themselves into this vicious circle, don't they? You look at, like you said, Bad Neighbours 2 is a really good example. When Bad Neighbours came out, I really enjoyed Bad Neighbours. And the problem was I walked out and went, this is going to do really well. I guarantee you it gets a sequel in, a couple of years. And what do we get? We get a sequel. Now, obviously, when Bad Neighbours came out, we had months and months and months of how Bad Neighbours has revitalised the R-rated comedy and all that kind of shit. So, I can't remember who made it, sorry. But, the guys that made it have gone, well, we'll just do it again. And the problem is, just doing it again isn't enough.
Yeah.
And, and all of us, it doesn't just... it's not just people like us who, watch a lot of films and talk about films a lot. Everyone looks at a sequel like Bad Neighbours 2 and just goes, I don't want to watch it again. If I wanted to do that, I'd buy it. I'd buy number 1 and watch it again. It would be much better that way around. And I think this is, I don't know much about Pitch Perfect. I don't think I've ever seen any of them. As far as I'm aware, I read that Elizabeth Banks had walked off, but I didn't read why. But I think the big problem is that these studios expect far too much because of what one film did, and then they don't make a good film for a sequel. If if you don't make a good film, you're not going to make money out of it. It's as simple as that.
I think, obviously, it's definitely changed a lot recently, because I remember back when Hangover came out, and obviously that was massively popular and it was kind of a cult hit, and they were like, okay, let's make a second one. And people still flocked out and came to see it, and that's why we ended up having a third one, which frankly was not even a very good film, let alone a very good sequel. But people, again, still came out and attended these films. But recently, and I don't know whether we're just going through a dip after what a fantastic year we had last year, whether the audiences are just not quite coming out in the same way, and I don't know, maybe are a bit smarter to it. I don't know.
Yeah, I think maybe, and I think it goes back to the fact that, you know, like you said, Brooker, people don't want just the same thing. But back in the day, people did. People were happy with that. They just took another. Oh, it's another film in that seat. You know, another second film, another third film. They didn't think of it in terms of franchises. They just were like, oh, it's the same thing again. Brilliant. More explosions, more this, more that. But now, people, I'm not necessarily saying people are more sophisticated, because if they were more sophisticated, Batman v Superman wouldn't have made $900 million. But, although that's a flop, remember. But yeah, it's that whole thing of, I think people now are a bit more savvy to being just given the same thing reheated. And a lot of them won't really invest in that. And like I said, they want something more long form. But then by the same token, they don't want, half the time, they don't want original stuff though. You know, I mean, as Tomorrowland proved. I mean, Tomorrowland wasn't a great movie, don't get me wrong. It had a lot of flaws to it. But it wasn't half as bad as the box office would suggest. And it deserved to do better. And it was an original idea. And I'm saddened, to be fair, it didn't do better. Because it really will put people off from even trying stuff, you know, going forward. They're already risk-averse, you know. They're not going to... And Brad Bird getting that much money to make Tomorrowland was a rarity. Because they thought it was going to work. They thought, oh, Brad Bird, Disney, George Clooney, done. But people went, nah. Because they'd heard because the marketing wasn't brilliant. They'd heard it wasn't particularly great. No kids know who George Clooney is now or are particularly bothered. There was a lot of things they didn't get right, but it's the whole concept of people. They don't want new stuff, but they don't want reheated stuff. They want something in the middle, and that's where I think some of these things are going wrong. Well, they want comic book films. So yeah. Interesting. That's a debate I think that's going to rage on, and he's going to keep rippling underneath the surface. Brooker, what have you heard about in the news this week?
So I think, kind of following on from that and talking about sequels, obviously John Boyega, I think that's how you pronounce his name, has said that he's going to be starring in or part of the production team for Pacific Rim 2, which I have to admit is a sequel I was screaming out for. Because I really enjoyed the first one. It's one of my favourite films, and he's going to be playing Idris Elba's character, Pentecost, his son. So there's going to be coming back to get the monsters thing because they killed my dad story. Clearly, is going to appear in this, but he was good. I liked him in Star Wars. I like Star Wars, I suppose, but I liked him in Star Wars, and I liked him in Attack the Block. I'll give him a go in Pacific Rim 2. I think they're calling it Maelstrom, aren't they? Is what it's been subtitled as Pacific Rim Maelstrom. That's what IMDb says.
Yeah. It didn't almost get made, did it? Pacific Rim 2. There was a point where they were cancelling it, and Del Toro was told he didn't have the money. But I think China stepped in. All of China.
All of China, everyone in China.
They do love their big robots.
They do.
Everyone in China gave $1.
Oh, fucking hell. You'd just about be able to pay for Avengers 1 there.
Yeah. But I mean, it's a shame that Del Toro's not coming back to direct. I would have liked him to.
Oh, is he not?
No. It's a guy called Stephen DeKnight.
Oh, he's the guy who show ran Daredevil season 1.
Yeah, he done Daredevil. He's done some Dollhouse and some Smallville.
He was on Buffy or Angel as well. He's one of the old Weed Knight guys.
Yeah, so he's been around TV for a while. This is his first film, I think. But yeah, no, I recognised his name from Daredevil as well. So I'm a little, I'll give him a chance. I'm not gonna shit all over a guy that's never made a film before. That would be really mean. But
Harsh.
it would be a bit harsh. But at the same time, he's stepping into Del Toro's shoes. Those are some pretty big shoes to step into.
The problem, I didn't like Pacific Rim, if I'm honest. I didn't
Did
think
you
it was, no. I didn't think it was terrible at all. I think I gave it a solid 3 stars, 2.5, 3 stars. It just did nothing for me. I thought it suffered to some extent, although I preferred Godzilla, Gareth Edwards' Godzilla. But it suffered from the same problem in that I was relatively entertained when monsters were knocking the shit out of each other, but I didn't care about anybody else. And I found myself, I thought the script wasn't very good. I thought all the characters were a bit cheesy. It just didn't do anything for me. I'm not a big monsters knocking stuff out of each other guy anyway. I like it, but I'm not obsessive with it.
I think this is where it kind of took me by surprise, because I hated Godzilla with a real passion as well. It's one of the worst films I've ever seen. I really didn't like it. But Pacific Rim, it blew me away. All the trailers for it I thought, this is going to be really cool, just monsters versus robots. This should be a bit of a laugh. But the fact that, Del Toro was directing it interested me, because I love all of his films, even the ones people don't like Pacific Rim and Crimson Peak, a lot of people didn't like, but I thought was great. But it blew me away. I missed it at the cinema for various reasons. The main one being my wife was about to give birth, so I wasn't allowed to go to cinema to watch
Good
it.
excuse. Good excuse.
No, it's not.
We'll
I missed it at the cinema. Anyway, but yeah, so I've only ever seen it on my my little TV and that, but I loved it. When I sat and watched it, I was gobsmacked and just in awe the entire time I was watching it. I do know there are a lot of people that really hated this film. I adore it.
I didn't hate it. I just I would rather see Del Toro doing things like at the Mountains of Madness, which no one will let him do, the Lovecraft stuff. I much prefer it. I mean, I liked Crimson Peak better. I much prefer him doing all that gothic horror, sensibility stuff. I don't think he's as good when he's amping up the action. I mean, I remember loving Blade 2 when I was younger, and I watched it again a few years ago, and I just didn't get from it what I got when I was younger. I don't know. I really think
I still love Blade 2, and you watch it and go, even if you didn't know who he was, or if you know who he was but didn't know he made that, you'd go, that's the Del Toro movie.
Well, yeah, definitely. And this is the thing with Del Toro. He's got his own stamp. I love the guy. I'm glad he didn't spend like 5,000 years making The Hobbit, because he can do other stuff. I'm just like, I don't know. So I'm not particularly bothered that he's not doing Pacific Rim, because I didn't particularly care for it. I will go and see Pacific Rim 2, and I like John Boyega. He's great. He's great. He was brilliant in Star Wars. I really like the guy. So and him as Idris Elba's son, he's great casting. So no, I'm on board. I'll go and see it. I want to get more out of number 2 than I did number 1. My piece of news is riffing off something that's been a bit contentious this week, which is Rose McGowan's words on X-Men Apocalypse, specifically the poster of Apocalypse choking Mystique. Now, are you familiar with this? Are you familiar with this story?
Yeah. I think Rose McGowan needs to learn to keep her mouth shut, really, because I think she's the last person that can be talking about, women's issues, since half the movies she's ever done, she's been half naked in.
She's the bird from Scream.
Yeah.
Yes.
And Planet Terror.
Yeah.
Planet Terror, those types of films, and again, she often plays quite strong female roles, but again, as I'm saying, she's often got a kit off. So I don't know if she's qualified to be talking about women's issues.
Well, she said, I'll read the quote, because I've got the quote here of what she said. This was in a statement to the Hollywood Reporter, and she said, there is a major problem when the men and women at 20th Century Fox think casual violence against women is the way to market a film. There is no context in the ad, just a woman getting strangled. The fact that no one flagged this is offensive and frankly stupid. The geniuses behind this, and I use that term lightly, need to take a long hard look in the mirror and see how they are contributing to society. Imagine if it were a black man being strangled by a white man, or a gay male being strangled by a hetero. the outcry would be enormous. So let's
hold on.
Right.
How do you have a gay man being strangled by a
Strangled
man in a poster?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Is the gay man going to have feathers coming out of him?
Well, no, it's Donald. Yeah, it's Donald Trump strangling Sacha Baron Cohen as Bruno. That would.
She finishes by saying, "So let's right this wrong, 20th Century Fox. Since you can't manage to put any women directors on your slate for the next 2 years, how about you at least replace your ad?" Now, regardless of what she's trying to say about equality, and look, I'm well up for that. I'm well up for equality. I completely agree in that sense. What she's forgetting is that it's the fucking X-Men, right? They're mutants.
The problem, there is context just by having people of not white or black colour on the poster.
Well, yeah, they're mutants. Apocalypse. It's great because there was. I write for I'm going to shill them here. I write for a website called Flickering Myth, and there's been some debate in the staff area today about this because they've been putting the poster on ads and things like that, and they were getting some stick on Twitter for running it. And even though, as people were saying, there'd been no stick, they'd been running it for a few months now, and it was only after Rose McGowan spoke up, people started going, "Oh, what have you putting that on for?" And there was some great debate, and it led to an article actually by a writer called Kirsty Capes, which I invite people to look up, called "Why Rose McGowan is Wrong About That X-Men Apocalypse Image," and it's on Flickering Myth. It's a good article, and one of the big points made was that it's not like somebody put underneath, "Oh, isn't Apocalypse a great guy?" Everybody knows Apocalypse is the villain for a start. And
his name's Apocalypse. It pretty much gives it away.
Yeah.
Exactly, right?
That could be just a metaphor, can't it?
Subtle. But it's so like, if anything, she has made a point and raised a point about something that no one was making a point about. Do you know what I mean? It's like she's
the thing is, they could have had literally anybody on that poster, because if you'd had Xavier, then it would be an able-bodied man strangling someone that isn't able-bodied.
Yeah, exactly.
Or if they put Storm on the poster, then it's a white guy, kind of strangling a black girl. It's
rubbish.
It's just stupid. Literally, there are so many. Cyclops is blind. Well, not technically, but kind of blind.
Sort of. It's an argument for argument's sake, though, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. You could have had an argument about any of those characters being on that poster. In fact, the only one is Magneto.
Of course, the really hilarious bit about it is Fox have gone, "Oh yeah, we're really sorry. We'll take all the posters down now." Weeks after the film is opened, and it doesn't fucking matter anymore.
Exactly.
Well, they were already losing a shit ton of money, so they're probably just like, well, might as well.
Yeah.
The quicker people forget about this film, the better.
Yeah.
There are lots of other problems with X-Men Apocalypse. This isn't one of them. And I liked it, but there are definitely problems with that film. It's just, don't give people... And I've got nothing against Rose McGowan, but don't give people a platform like that, because it's pointless. It's pointless. Okay, so that's the news. Let's talk about films. New films. We're going to start with the good stuff, because I think we've got to have the good stuff to get us through what we're going to talk about after. So, the Nice Guys.
There's a couple of people say you're a pretty good detective.
That's a lot of work.
I want you to help me with this case.
My profession's very complicated. It's very nuanced. Well, look who decided to show up for class. This is a high-profile case. You seen this girl? Name's Amelia. What's in it for me?
We can do this the easy way. Ow! We're currently doing it the easy way.
Dad, there's like whores here and stuff.
Sweetheart, how many times have I told you, don't say and stuff. Just say, Dad, there are whores here. Where are you going?
I think this is going to work better if we split up.
Wow, that's really insensitive.
Amelia, run!
Mark! You're in the pool?
Yeah.
Why?
I had to question the mermaids. What were you doing while I was working? Why do you think everyone involved in this case is dying?
The mob is trying to spread its operation to Los Angeles.
Gun! Shit!
Where is Amelia? She's dead.
What do you mean she's dead? You don't know! Amelia kill you.
Promise me you'll get them.
Yeah, I promise.
Pinky promise.
March! March! Before we go solving the crime of the century, let's deal with the rotting corpse. Run.
Weapons on the floor.
This is not you. You're not a murderer.
She killed 3 people.
I'm saying deep down. I think I'm invincible. I don't think I can die. Let me.
It's not the smart idea.
March!
You're the world's worst detectives.
Got a cool ad, though. I made your head small because I know you're sensitive
That's
about
terrible.
how big it is.
Yeah.
The brand new Shane Black film, which we just played a trailer of, stars Russell Crowe, Ryan Gosling as two very different sort of PIs, sort of not really PIs in the late 70s world of porn and drugs and all that jazz. And I thought it was bloody great. Brooker.
It was spectacular. One of the best films I've seen so far this year.
Go on then, why?
Right. Well, because it's Shane Black. You know, everything this guy's ever written, I've really, really enjoyed. It's been really funny. It's usually there's been a point about what he's got to say. I'm not sure I get it for the Nice Guys, I have to admit, but you know, he's usually got something he wants to talk about when he writes his films. But his scripts are so on point. They're so, you know, every line is beautiful. And the thing with the Nice Guys, it's a culmination of his years of writing scripts and, you know, making a couple of films, honing his craft a little bit, you know, after Kiss Kiss Bang Bang and Iron Man 3. And it's just, you know, it's 2 hours of just, it's beautiful. It's funny, it's well made, it's well acted. It's an outstanding little film.
It's so funny. It's so funny. I was literally on the verge of crying with laughter at certain points. It is absolutely brilliant. It's just that wonderful thing that you don't get very often in films anymore. A great script, just fizzing with lines and some really, really great characters, and just the way it looks and the way it feels. You know, it's proper 70s. It's got a great score by John Ottman and David Buckley. You know, proper wacka wacka guitars and all this stuff. It's top rank. It's absolutely top rank.
You got to give it stars. You know, all the credit in the world, because I don't think I've seen Russell Crowe or Ryan Gosling do comedy before. I'm almost certain they haven't done any, but if they have, I haven't seen it.
Well, Gosling's did Crazy Stupid Love, which is a really good film, actually. Surprised me how good that is. With Emma Stone and Steve Carell, which was a few years ago. Really good romantic comedy. And he basically he kind of plays the persona that people see him as in that. He's like this really suave, smooth ladies' man who ends up trying to teach Steve Carell how to become a suave, smooth ladies' man. But he's very deadpan. And one thing he's great at, and he's a very different character from, you know, Hall in The Nice Guys, but he's really good at being deadpan. He's really good at he's much more comic effect in this because it's Russell Crowe's the straight man in The Nice Guys. But Gosling's just got a real knack for playing it straight in a certain way and getting the laughs that way. So he's good. He's good. I can't remember Russell Crowe being in a comedy, or something.
Robin Hood.
But he's good because he is the straight man. You know, that's the point of Russell Crowe, in that he's the big. I think my girlfriend described him as an ox in this. He's just a big ox of a man.
That's the beautiful thing about it, though, because he's basically playing the same character he's always played. He's just allowed to be a bit fun in this one.
Yeah,
and
to enjoy it.
Yeah, he gets to play the hard man. He gets to break some bones and knock some people out. And he has a couple of quippy one-liners. But his delivery, I was blown away. I had no idea he had the ability to be that funny, you know. And if he's listening, I'm sorry, because I really don't want him to come find me.
Well, he's obviously listening. He's obviously listening.
Obviously.
Of course he is.
Who wouldn't be?
Well, exactly.
Ryan Gosling's forgotten that he's funny, because obviously he went through that kind of dark and brooding era of kind of Drive and stuff like that, where he didn't get to laugh much. And last year's Big Short was earlier this year here in the UK. Obviously, is proof that obviously he can do funny, and I think this is another example of actually, if the balance is right between, you know, the kind of serious deadpanness and the humour, it really works. And I think Russell Crowe is discovering a whole new arm to his repertoire as well.
The thing with, like I said, with Ryan Gosling is he has done, you know, he's done like Drive and all those kind of films, and you've kind of I think everybody, not just him, I think everybody's forgotten that he doesn't necessarily need to be this dark and brooding character. But it's really cool that he's gotten into this film, and the film itself is so darkly funny. I mean, it is really black comedy in some places.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
it suits that persona of his really, really well. But even then, you know, he's not the dark and broody one. He's fucking hapless in this movie. I have
That's a
to
good
say,
word.
you know what?
Yeah.
Hapless.
Yeah.
I say still reckon the star of the film is his daughter.
Well, I was going to bring this up, right, because she stole that film. She played by an actress called Angourie Rice, a young Australian actress, and just one of those child actors who just turns up and you go, fucking hell, where'd she come from? Because she was fantastic. She was supposed to be a character who in Hull's daughter Molly, who is wise beyond her years. You know, she's effectively the parent to a very dysfunctional man who can't really look after himself or her. And even though she's only about 13 years old, she has to mother him basically. And she's just got that really rare quality in a child actor, where she's almost playing twice her age, and it's brilliant to see because she just nails it. She absolutely nails it, and she was tremendous.
But it's something that Shane Black's done before as well. Do you remember Bruce Willis's daughter in The Last Boy Scout?
Oh, of course, yeah. Mm.
And I thought she was fucking hilarious, and she was great in every scene she was in. I am quite happy to sit and say that, you know, if the girl from the Nice Guys carries on like that, I'll keep watching her as well. Yeah. I thought she was spectacular.
Absolutely.
She had more balls than anybody else on that screen.
She did. Because she has to kind of help guide Jackson, and played by Russell Crowe, and whole Ryan Gosling's character through the what is a bit like. I mean, I described it in my review as kind of a bit of a mesh of Lethal Weapon, a really dark black comedy, and something like a Raymond Chandler kind of PI story with a lot of boogie nights. It just had all that kind of element to it. It had the 70s sort of seedy swagger to it with all the porn stuff, but it also had, like, you know, certain action beats, lots of shootouts, and it had them on a very PI kind of trail. You know, you had like femme fatales in there, and you had a missing woman who they have to find, and lots of like characters who just pop up to give information, like the kid on the bike who tells him he's got a big dick.
Yeah. That was awesome. And the first time you literally get taken aback and go, the fuck?
Yeah, and that's what as do the characters, and they're very nice. They're like, I don't want to see a dick. You know, it's just really funny. Just all these characters who pop up and advance a story that is clever. You know, it's cleverly, everything ties up. And what else impressed me was how there's lots of little. Shane Black's really good at actually putting lots of little visual winks into everything. Like a good example is how at the very beginning, because Ryan Gosling's character's a bit not just mercurial in the way he does things, but he's also a bit paranoid, and he's reading an article on killer bees, and then he keeps asking where are all the bees going, all the killer bees, and then when he gets tripped off his balls, he has a conversation with a killer bee talking to him in the back, smoking a joint. It's little things like that pay off throughout. There's lots of them. It's very clever, and you know they're the kind of things that people will pick up, I think, on a subsequent watch as well.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to watching it again. I've only watched it once, so I really want to go back to it.
Definitely, it's a corker. Dan, check it out. It's great.
I will. I'm a big fan of Shane Black. So same as Brooker, even his not so good stuff, I think is great. I thought Kiss Kiss Bang Bang was great, for example. So it was definitely one I was planning on checking out, as we discussed. So
next up, then, sorry about this, gents, but we've got to talk about Warcraft.
For years, our world has been at peace. But something is coming. I can feel it. Dark forces are upon us.
Find these beasts, or whatever they are.
Our world is dying. There is nothing to go back to. If our people are to survive, we must make a home here. Whatever happens.
Whatever happens. If we do not unite, our world will perish.
This doesn't need to happen. There is one who may help us.
For orcs, there is no other life but war. No, but with the humans' help, there could be.
Why are you here?
To save our people.
Can we trust him?
They're beasts. They should all be destroyed. Are you sure about that? We'll protect the kingdom. You and I.
You'd side with the humans against your own kind.
This is suicide.
We have no choice. We should attack with full force.
Whatever you plan to do it now!
It's another of these bloody video game ones, isn't it? That nobody ever wanted to be made, and here we are.
Well, the thing is, I'm gonna obviously we just played the trailer for Warcraft, and you can hear how Warcraft the beginning. I'm going to defer to you, Brooker, for this because I having read your review on Failed Critics, I know that you're a former WoW player.
No, I'm not. I'm a former Warcraft player. And this is different. I played Warcraft. When it became World of Warcraft, I had stopped playing. Well,
I apologise for my mistake.
No, it's fine. A lot of people make that mistake. Warcraft is a real-time strategy game. It's a pick up and play. You pick it up, you play it for half an hour, do one mission, turn it off, you're done, if that's what you want to do. The problem with a game like World of Warcraft is it is a massive, massive sink of your time, and it's time I simply don't have. I've got no interest in buying games and then having to pay subscription to play them, and I have a job, so
and a family and a life.
Yeah, exactly.
So you're a functioning adult.
I am. Well, kind of.
So with this film, then, who's it for? I mean, I went in there as somebody who knew what World of Warcraft was by the name. I knew it was about orcs and goblins and some shit, and that was it, right? And I went in there as a complete, newbie. So who's it for?
I am not entirely sure who it's meant for. I can tell you that most of the people that were in the screening that I was in probably have never played Warcraft 1 or 2. They're just simply too young. And I do admit there are people that will be that young that will go and play them. I still go back and play games that were made years and years and years before I was born. There are some. There are not a cinema full of them in Milton Keynes. that I'm guaranteeing you. So this is certainly marketed more, I think, for World of Warcraft players, even though the story is more or less ripped from Warcraft 1's lore.
Yeah.
It is just as convoluted as I've made it sound. It is awful.
I don't know if it's actually marketed as either, in fact, because there were so many people that came in and saw it that didn't know what World of Warcraft was. They just saw, oh look, there's some things that look a bit like orcs. We'll go see that. It must be like Lord of the Rings.
Oh, there's definitely a feeling when you watch a trailer of, if you liked Lord of the Rings, come and see our film. We promise you it's not a shit version of that.
But
I do think, no. I mean, if you were a Warcraft player, you would look at that and go, "That's more for the World of Warcraft guys."
Right.
But
okay.
It's to say, it's like saying this Ford is for Fiesta drivers, not Focus drivers. It's splitting hairs to a point where there's really no point in it.
Well, and this is the thing. I mean, the trailer. I remember watching the trailer and thinking, I don't really know what that's about, really. And it didn't confuse me as much as just make me. It felt a bit muddled even in the trailer. And then when I watched the film, and
now you've seen the film, do you still not know what it was about?
I ain't got a fucking clue. It's like I know that there's wars between orcs and humans, and I know there's lots of different place names of where the humans live, like Stormwind and Ironforge and all these names. And they all live in these different kingdoms and things, and there's portals that transfer you through different worlds, and there are orc clans, and there are all these different things. But the problem I had, and this is the point I made when I did my review on it, if anything needed a cinematic universe to start off with, it was Warcraft, I think, because you've got all these different people, you've got all these wizards, you've got the orcs, you've got the humans, goodness knows what, and they throw everything at you at once. And it's like, right, this is it. A little bit of a voiceover preamble at the start. That's the world. This is who these people are. Let's go. And you go, well, hang on a minute, because before all this happened, surely I'm supposed to care. I didn't even know who a lot of their names were by the end. Me and my missus came out of that, and we went, what was the name of the main guy again? And because he's in Vikings, we just called him Ragnar all the way through.
Yep.
We just
pretty much what I've done as well.
Yeah, Travis Fimmel from Vikings, who basically plays the exact same character as in Vikings, really.
Yeah, just slightly fewer tattoos.
Yeah, exactly. And so the fact I didn't even know what all their names were, let alone really give a toss about any of them. I was I honestly, and I mean this, 35 minutes in, I fell asleep. I fell asleep, and my girlfriend had to wake me up, and she was just pissing herself laughing. And I haven't fallen asleep in a film since 1998 when I watched The Siege with Bruce Willis and Denzel Washington, which was terrible. So nearly 20 years, and Warcraft put me to sleep.
I have to admit, I mean, I was half kind of, a lot of it for me was I was watching the film, and I didn't hate the film. I didn't particularly like it, but there were certain bits of it that I got a little bit of enjoyment out of. But what I actually enjoyed more was watching all the fanboys around me, because I was at the midnight screening of it. Yeah. So the only people that were there
that's commitment.
Were people. Well, yeah, they'd unpicked themselves from their desk chair, finally managed to let go of their mouse and come to Milton Keynes Odeon for a bit, and it was so much fun to just watch them go, whoa, orcs, these fucking assholes. But
that cinema must have stank.
It really did, and I remember saying this at the time as well. I was like, because like I say, I used to be a Warcraft player. I'm still a gamer, and these people, they are the World of Warcraft stereotype coming out to see this film, and you can't tell me that these people don't exist when I've sat in a cinema with them, because man, it was raw in there. It was like sitting in a warm butcher's shop.
See, what World of Warcraft should it be investing in rather than films should be deodorant, because it would be doing us all a favour. So yeah,
it's true. I think that the thing is, I know what they're trying to do. They're trying to cash in on the high fantasy thing, but the thing is, the high fantasy thing at the cinemas doesn't work. I mean, the Huntsman's Winter War was a good example this year. Another sequel that nobody wanted to a film that nobody saw, and they thought, let's throw some big stars at it, and it'll work, and it didn't. And
it wasn't that bad.
No.
It really was.
But that's the point.
But I've got a soft spot for anything that's got Emily Blunt in.
Well,
so.
it has a great cast. But the thing is, with this had a decent ensemble cast, no major stars, but there were all loads of people cropping up in it. Who I was like, oh, that's Callum Keith Rennie. Oh, that's Ruth Negga. Oh, that's like great. Lots of solid.
Clancy Brown was doing voice work in it. I had no idea until I checked the IMDb.
No, I know, and there's lots of people in there who are perfectly talented. Duncan Jones is a really good, solid director. Did Moon, did the great Source Code, which I love to bits. And everyone, when they found out Duncan Jones was going to direct this, everyone was like, great, Duncan Jones, he's a good director. He'll actually make a comic book movie that's not a piece of shit. And then, unfortunately, what happened was that...
He was drunk.
Well...
Well, no, the problem was, Duncan Jones, like you say, he made Moon and he made Source Code.
Yeah.
2 fucking stellar movies. So, outside of the World of Warcraft fans, and these are the people that have given it 10 out of 10 on the IMDb user reviews. You get 2 minutes, average read of those. They're fucking hilarious. But people like us, we've gone and gone, fucking hell, Duncan Jones, this is going to be good. No, it's not.
But the thing is, it was exactly, but it wasn't him. This is partly. I think he was subject to a massive amount of pressure from Blizzard, make World Warcraft, and the studio. He said he cut 40 minutes of the film. Christ above. That's a terrifying thought that he cut stuff from it because it's long enough as it is. But it's the whole thing that he may have gone into this with a different mindset. The other fact is quite simply that his dad was dying. David Bowie was dying last year. That was all going on while he was editing this. That he admitted that had a big effect on this film, making this film. Which is really sad. And I'm really gutted for him because I really, really wanted him to do this and do this well. And I'm looking forward to when he probably goes back to making a much, much smaller film with Sam Rockwell or something now and actually does a really good job, which is what they're all doing. This is a big problem where studios are pushing these really good, especially British, quite often, directors into these massive films and not letting them do their thing. It happened with Gareth Edwards. It looks like it may have happened with Gareth Edwards with Rogue One, possibly. It happened with Josh.
It looked like it happened with Gareth Edwards with Godzilla as well.
Depending on your point of view, yeah, partly, I think you're right. Yeah, even though I like it a lot more than you, I think you've got a point. Josh Trank, massively it happened to with Fantastic Four, So it's an ongoing problem, this. And Warcraft is a good example. You said it. You don't hate this film, but it's so painfully average and dull that it's worse. I'd rather it be horrendously shit and it's funny. I was just bored.
There are some real glimmers of brilliance in it as well. Like there are a couple of scenes, and obviously, you only see these if you've played any of the games in the past. But some of the action scenes where it's just orcs versus humans, and it's just this mass of bodies beating the fuck out of each other, and you get kind of like this aerial view of it all happening. It's like watching what used to happen when you played the game.
Yeah,
it was awesome. It's a bit like when the Doom film done the first person thing.
Yeah, that was great.
Except the rest of the film is just as shit. It's which is a real shame. And I really wanted Duncan Jones more than anything else. Aside from being I have a soft spot for Warcraft, I wanted to be able to say to people that watched films to go, I've seen a video game movie that's not a complete bag of wank. And I still can't say that yet.
Well, we've got to put all our...
Fingers crossed Assassin's Creed.
Yes, I was just about to say. We've got to put all our hopes into Assassin's Creed now, really. So, yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. So that's movies. Both The Nice Guys and Warcraft are now in your local cinema. But yeah, we put a poll out to Twitter asking people, which is the better film, The Nice Guys or Warcraft? And we had an 80% vote for...
Warcraft.
I almost made that joke. You got there first. No, The Nice Guys, obviously. Or no,
I have to admit, it wouldn't have surprised me.
Well,
no, because it's Twitter, isn't it? So,
so yeah, The Nice Guys 80%, Warcraft 20%. So yeah, most of Twitter agrees with us. If you have to choose, go and see The Nice Guys. Avoid Warcraft.
If you don't have to choose, still don't go and see Warcraft.
Still go and see The Nice Guys. Me Before You, which is the Emilia Clarke, Sam Claflin film about disability, which is apparently quite good, even though most people apparently came out of it people I've seen on Twitter just talking about Emilia Clarke's eyebrows because they are pretty...
Is he strangling her in the poster?
Yeah, well, that's the thing, it's another film where we've got controversial, unnecessary opinions because someone's got a bee in their bonnet.
Oh. As usual. But that's doing quite well at the cinema, so maybe that's one to just avoid Warcraft. Speaking of Emilia Clarke, TV! And and Game of Thrones is racing towards the end of season 6. Now, I'm a massive Game of Thrones nut. What about you guys?
I used to be.
Used to be.
Yeah, it's another thing that I haven't seen.
Oh, Dan! This is going to be Dan's thing on High Concept. He's going to come on and have seen nothing and just have to blag his way through. So, Dan, tell us about the complex plot twists in the latest Game of Thrones episode. Do illuminate us.
Oh yeah, Sean Bean was good, wasn't he?
He dies at the end. Shit, we shouldn't have given it away. The new episode, obviously, spoilers if you haven't seen it already.
If you haven't seen it and you listen to this and you haven't had it spoiled already, that's impressive.
Where have you been? Yeah, that's true. And obviously, the big one this week is that, and I'm going to talk like I assume you watch Game of Thrones. If you don't, you're skipping this bit anyway. But yeah, the Hound is back, which I was fucking over the moon at because they even did a pre-credits moment. They never do a pre-credits moment. Normally, it's the dun 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 dun, which me and my girlfriend sing. Game of Thrones, yeah. Game of Thrones, yeah. Game of Thrones, yeah. Every week.
Hold on, what were you saying about super nerds?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Hands up here, I am. But yeah, they even did, and then the Hound appears, and I literally cheered because I love that nasty bastard. He's brilliant.
He's a very cool character. I did smile when I saw Ian Al Swearingen McShane.
Yeah,
I was very happy to see Al Swearingen in Game of Thrones.
Ian Tits and Dragons McShane, as he described the show. The best description, because everyone was going, "Oh, what about spoilers? What about spoilers?" And he was like, "Chill out, man. It's just tits and dragons."
Just tits and dragons.
It's brilliant. Apparently, HBO loved that. They were like, even though it looked like it was bad publicity, they were like, "Dude, that's fucking brilliant." Because everyone was just going tits. I want a T-shirt on now with Ian McShane's face and tits and dragons underneath.
That I would wear that T-shirt.
Yeah. But no, it was a good episode. It was a good the sixth season. I mean, it's been great. I mean, it really has. There's been a lot of people who've said that Game of Thrones has really took its foot off the gas in the last couple of seasons. And last season, I like last season, but I can understand that it took its time. But what it's done is now that they've reached a point where they've decided they're going to end it. And what it's allowed them to do is go, right, well, let's just fucking finish this then. Let's just do everything now. Whereas in previous seasons, they haven't known how long they were going to go, and they've just slowly edged things along. And now they are foot on the gas, and every week it's like, oh, Jesus, what? No! It's great. I'm loving it.
Yeah, it's one of those shows that the wife watches it every week, and it's kind of, I'm in the room while it's on. I took a real aversion to Game of Thrones after last season. It really put me off. Which, I mean, considering some of the shit I watch and some of the stuff I've said I really like, and Game of Thrones last year found my line and danced over it, so I don't watch it religiously anymore. But I was curious to see what happened if and when Ian McShane ever appeared, because obviously we've been reading about that for months, and he turns up, yesterday. But yeah, I will never take anything away from HBO and the quality of their shows. As a show, I'm not invested anymore. And what was interesting, actually, I thought your review for last night's episode, the one that you wrote for Flickering Myth.
I didn't write the review, but I wrote an article about the Hound afterwards.
Oh yeah, so reading that article, if you tried to read that and understand it without ever having seen an episode of Game of Thrones, is the most convoluted, complicated shit. It is so up its own arse. As I was reading this, I'm going, this is why I didn't read the books.
The books are brilliant, but they take for fucking ever. They really do.
I hate fantasy books because they take forever. And they're all the same, They're not all as hyper-violent as Game of Thrones, but they all take 9 books to make any sort of point. Yeah. And, much like the World of Warcraft thing, I just ain't got the fucking time.
No, well, that's exactly.
Speaking of the books, have you heard about Robert Kirkman, obviously, who's the creator of the Walking Dead comics, criticising George R.R. Martin's for the fact that, obviously, the show is now ahead of the books, and Martin is actually telling the writers what is going to happen, obviously before he's even written the books. What's your opinion on that? Do you think the show should have just gone in its own direction?
Well, the thing is, Kirkman's come under a lot of flack for this in the last few days, and he's rolled back actually a little bit, and he said he's great. I love him. He's an amazing writer. He's a better writer than I'll ever be, right? Which may or may not be true, depending on your stance. But I think he's got a point, and the fact is that people have for years have been haranguing George R. R. Martin about getting on with it, right? I get the feeling every day he wakes up to somebody posting the piece from Holy Grail where they go, "Get on with it," to him. I think he's busy, but I think he's doing loads of different things. When everyone is just like, we should get on and finish this fucking thing now. And it was at the point where they went to him and they went, "Look, George, we can't stop the show." And equally, they can't just do a completely different show. They've set up 5 seasons of his books, and they've adapted it pretty religiously, to be fair. Everything they've done, even up to now season 6, and they're still adapting bits and bobs now, is pretty much what's in the books, bar a few variations here and there. They can't just suddenly veer off and do something completely new. And as much as I can't wait for The Winds of Winter and then A Dream of Spring, if he lives to write it, quite frankly, I'm gutted that, quite honestly, the big points of it will already be spoiled by the show. They will. I really think that. His books are different now, but the main beats will have already been out there.
Well, not only that, but obviously anything that doesn't work in the show, he can kind of go, "No, that was never my plan at all," that kind of thing.
Exactly.
Whereas I feel like the show needs to either, it needs to make its mind up whether it wants to own it and finish it on its own merit, because the writers have done a fairly good job so far, because even though George Martin is involved, he's not as heavily involved in the show as Robert Kirkman has been with The Walking Dead. I think the writing credits is that I think Kirkman's written double the episodes that Martin's written, so that kind of shows his involvement in the show in comparison. Or he needs to go on and write the book, and the show needs to go on a hiatus or something.
That will never happen because it's such a cash cow, and because now they're at the point where they're at a point where they're if they don't finish it now, they're going to have to renegotiate the contracts of people like Emilia Clarke and Kit Harington and Nikolai Coster-Waldau, all these people who are going to cost a fortune to keep on the bill now. And because they got them cheap for 7 years, they've been paying them probably not a fat lot, probably giving them raises here and there. But considering what people like Emilia Clarke could charge now an episode, they know that if they had to give her that amount of money, they wouldn't be able to put it into making the show look like a movie. And so it's a trade-off. They've got to finish it now. And now they've got to make a choice. They've got to decide, we're going to go for it. And while I do think there'll be differences, and there might be one or two things that George Martin does hold back, I think when Jon and Daenerys and Tyrion ride their dragons over the wall and destroy all the White Walkers, which is what I think will happen. I think that that's going to be spoiled. Anyway, enough about GOT. What have you guys been watching, Dan?
I've recently got into iZombie, which is a series that I believe is in its 2nd season now, and it's basically taking advantage, I think, really of the popularity of the zombie medium at the moment. Obviously we've got The Walking Dead and its various extension franchises, and Z Nation as well, and I'm well on board with all of it. Literally, I'm watching everything zombie, and I never thought of myself as someone that really liked zombie films or even zombie shows, but I think Walking Dead has definitely changed that for me, and I can't get enough of the stuff. I think I've seen every bloody zombie movie going at the moment. Obviously, what iZombie does differently is it's not really about hordes of zombies going around eating people. It's kind of a very human side to the story. The main character was scratched in the pilot episode, and she basically has to live with being this living dead person who has to eat brains to keep her appetite in check. And when she eats the brains of the people, she basically then takes on certain characteristics of them. So in the first episode, she eats the brain of a kleptomaniac, and then she's stealing red staplers and stuff like that for no apparent reason. But it's got a really interesting cast. Only David Anders I was aware of. I wasn't really aware of any of the other cast members, certainly to a big degree, but I love David Anders. I think he's been great in everything that he's done, even way back when to Alias. Was it Stark he played in Alias?
Sark.
Yeah, Juliet. Sark, yeah.
Yeah, you're getting your Game of Thrones mixed up.
Yeah, or my Iron Man, yeah. But yeah, he's great, and the other person was Ali. I can never pronounce her name, but like Ali Michalaka? I don't know. But basically,
Ali
she's.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
That's the one. Yeah. She obviously did a lot of kind of like teen kind of series back in the day, and she's kind of popped up in a few series now, more recently. But the main star, Rose McIver, is really good. She's really funny, and she plays the role of Liv really well. I'm only about 6 episodes in, I think, about 6 or 7, I think I'm in at the moment. So it didn't take very long for me to get hooked on it. But then I think, like anything that's on Netflix, it doesn't take very long for you to get sucked in and to get addicted to it. I think it's easy in this Netflix world that we live in now, where everything is accessible and you can watch the whole bloody series without even blinking. But no, yeah, I would definitely recommend people check it out.
No, cool. Yeah, definitely one to watch. Brooker, how about you?
So kind of sticking with the Netflix binging thing. It's something we've done for a long time. Whenever a TV show's been on, we record it or we download it or whatever, and then when the whole lot's done, we sit and go from start to finish over a couple of days. So recently, and it's quite tough to do in this country because it doesn't really air anywhere, but much like a lot of other things, I get to buy it on American iTunes and watch it instead. What we watched was we binged the most recent season of a TV show called Last Man Standing. I don't know if you guys have heard of this.
No, I haven't, no.
Yeah, I have.
So it's a sitcom with Tim Allen in it, and it's basically, boiled right down, it is modern day Home Improvement. There's no two ways about it. It's Tim Allen's character from Home Improvement plucked out from the 90s and dropped into 2012 or 2011 when it first aired. And it's him with still these very kind of old school views in a house where he's the only guy. And there's him and his wife and 2 grown-up daughters and 1 young teenage daughter. There's not many good sitcoms around anymore. Home Improvement, Last Man Standing is probably the best one around for me. I think it's very easy to watch. It's laugh out loud funny. It's really wrong in some spots. Like some of the jokes are a bit close to the quick. You go, whoa. I don't know how you got away with doing that on ABC. That's pretty cold. But I highly recommend it. It appears every now and then on like Sky 1 and 2 on like at 3 in the afternoon. So I mean, if it ever appears, I'd really recommend it. It's a lot of fun and yeah, laugh out loud, funny all the way through.
Cool. Okay. Well, those are some good recommendations and a regular behemoth in Game of Thrones to think about with TV. Okay, so we're going to do our final bit of the podcast now, which is the high concept pitch. And this is how we're going to end every week. The pitch that relates to one of the big films in question. And I couldn't bear to do a fantasy pitch because Warcraft was crap. So let's do let's tie it into Shane Black and the Nice Guys. And as I said earlier, the high concept this week that, gentlemen, you need to pitch me is a cop buddy movie not set in the present day. So, who wants to go first?
Wow. You knew no one was volunteering for that.
I will pick somebody if somebody doesn't volunteer. I work in a school.
Well, I'll tell you what, let's get my god-awful one out of the way.
Go on then.
Right, so, because my one's either going to land and be quite good, or what more likely, it's going to miss the podium completely, land flat on its face and break its nose. So, I mean, I did kind of cheat a little bit, and I've kind of, in the same vein as the Nice Guys, I've stuck with 70s America.
It's not set in the present day, so that's fine. That's the rules. Yeah.
But it does make it look like I've just gone. No, I'm just going to make a bit. I'm going to do the nice guys again.
The nicer guys.
Yeah. So my cop buddy thing. Now, have you guys ever seen a TV show White Collar?
Yeah, the pilot I think I watched. Yeah.
Right.
I've got a friend who's begging me to get into it, but yeah.
Yeah. So it's basically cop or FBI guy and a thief who escapes from prison and is then teams up with this copper. So basically, I've got a copper who I reckon I'm just going to go 100% cheese with this and 100% just all cheesy tropes for the entirety of it. So I reckon your copper's got to be grizzled Gary Busey, not Lethal Weapon or Point Break Gary Busey, like batshit crazy 2015 Gary Busey.
So basically, can we just cast Gary Busey in this role?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I was going.
Okay.
But he's just the copper. His partner, I reckon, is going to be an adult film star.
Have you got a name for her?
For him, it's got to be a him.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
And well, I mean, I have several names written down for his name.
Come on then.
So I reckon I'll give you guys a choice. You can have Ron Tickler. You can have Randy Beefstick. Or you can have Manly Boner.
I don't know. Manly Boner sounds like it could easily be a name, though.
It does, yeah. Manly Boner.
So I reckon this guy's going to be Colin Farrell wearing his season 2 True Detective stash, which is basically 70s porn stash.
It's got to be Ron Tickler for me, I think.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Colin Farrell plays Ron Tickler.
Ron Tickler.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
So I reckon we start off this show and it's Ron Tickler's doing a film, and afterwards he ends up talking to the bird he was with, and she has heard about, it's very Shane Black. She's heard about, a mob hit or something. So he goes to the police with it and they stop the mob hit. And because he seems to be able to use his dick like a divining rod for clues and keep getting information out of people that he talks to or people that he shags on set, they just turn into kind of like they're just partners. This is my show. The name of my show?
Go on.
Cockshaw.
Brilliant.
That was my lunch break today, that was.
Oh dear. Dan, good luck topping that.
Mine's not as humorous at all. But basically, the kind of tagline would be Hercules meets the Sweeney.
Okay.
So it would be a 1980s police drama with a twist, because the police force are all Greek gods. So you've got Hercules, played by Max Irons. He would be a regular Jack of the Lad, new on the beat, basically there because his dad, also played by Jeremy Irons, Zeus, obviously, basically got him the job for him. He has a motorbike called Pegasus, obviously, which he enjoys riding around the London streets on. And his partner, Poseidon, is a grumpy old grouch, played by Idris Elba. And Poseidon obviously has to try and work alongside a partner that he doesn't even want. He's a bit of a maverick is Poseidon. He does anything to get the job done, but usually he doesn't like anyone getting in his way.
Like Idris Elba in Bastille Day recently.
Exactly like Bastille Day.
Or Luther, obviously, Luther as well.
Luther, yeah. Basically, Idris Elba's being stunt casted here.
Perfect. That's what we want.
And,
High concept. This is what we need.
You'd have Judi Dench, no doubt, would pop up as Hera, and Aphrodite. I was thinking maybe Keely Hawes, so that her and Jeremy Irons can, reprise their roles from High Rise. But that's basically it. Yeah.
That's great. That's really good. Have you got a title?
See, I didn't think he'd have a title, so
Sorry.
I didn't even think of one. I didn't. As soon as he went, oh, and I'm going to call it, I'm like, fuck, I didn't think of a title.
To be fair, I started with the title and worked backwards from there. Because I had no fucking idea what I was going to do. I just wanted to say the word cock over and over again.
It's both really brilliant ideas, to be fair, and very different and well thought out. Genuinely, both well thought out. So, I think I'm going to have to go with Dan for the level of detail that he brought to that. Really, but I do want to see Cockshaw.
No, I liked it.
I want both.
Bonus cock points.
So brilliantly thought out, gentlemen. Yeah, I want both. That brings us to the end of episode 1 of High Concept, and this is the beginning of a brand new podcast. So you guys are going to be back semi-regularly.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
which is going to be great. Not necessarily together all the time, but we're going to get different guests on. But the idea is to keep several recurring, voices you've heard before to tether to me, to probably prevent me going off the rails and keep me in check. So,
and I promise to actually watch the films next time.
Do you know what? That would help. I've got to be honest. Until you guys do return, where can we find you then? Dan, first off.
You can find me on Twitter at Dan Thomas Taylor. Obviously I've been around the block a little bit now, so those that are regular listeners to Black Hole Media stuff probably already know where to find me.
Awesome. Brooker.
I am on Twitter at Brooker411, and I do a little bit of podcasting and a little bit of writing for the Failed Critics, where I think I've got reviews for Nice Guys and Warcraft up there if you'd like to see me be really nice about one and not so nice about the other.
Yeah.
Guess which?
Definitely read them, absolutely. I'm at Mr_Tony_Black on Twitter, if you must follow me. And I write for, as I mentioned earlier, write for Flickering Myth and run the Black Hole Media podcast network with lots of other great podcasts like the Xcast, Dead Meat, and The Composers, which is now out as well. So yeah, lots to enjoy on there. But you can find High Concept at High Concept Pod on Twitter. We've had a Twitter active for a while now, so do follow us if you haven't already. We're also on Facebook, and we're retweeting lots of things and putting things up and everything like that. So yeah, follow us. And also we'll be on iTunes, if not when you listen to this, very soon. So when we are, do subscribe. And leave us a review. But yeah, that'd be lovely. And we hope that we've done enough to make you tune in next week, when I will have 2 completely different guests with me to talk new films, including Melissa McCarthy's The Boss. Can't wait for that one. But yeah, we'll see you soon, guys. Take care.